Hey everybody, welcome back for another video for Australia Mountain Community College, our culinary program. These are hopefully useful reference videos for you throughout the program. What we're going to talk about today is Italian meringue, which is a very important base ingredient you're going to use over and over and over again in the pastry program, which is basically whipped egg whites with hot sugar poured into them. It's a much more stable meringue than a common meringue or Swiss meringue. And then we're going to flip it on end, and we're going to do what's called a Pate Bombe, which is egg yolks with hot sugar put into it. Where you're going to use an Italian meringue is as a base for perhaps a buttercream or maybe just on a meringue pie. And the Pate Bombe you're going to use probably in the base of a mousse. So what we're going to do is I've got some water and sugar going on my cooktop here already. We're going to bring this up to about 245 to 250 degrees for an Italian meringue. So this one I'm going to bring up the temperature just a little bit. It's about 220 right now, and I've got my egg whites. And what I'm going to do is when this gets up to about 240, I'm going to go ahead and start whipping these, and I'm really going to watch the temperature. This is one of those things where you have to juggle a little bit because you want to get your egg whites to a medium peak, medium firmness, and your sugar to 245 to 250 degrees, and that's where we're going to slowly be drizzling it into the work bowl. And what we're going to see on the close-up shot is I'm not going to drizzle it down the side of the work bowl. I'm not going to drizzle it onto the whisk because that's just going to whip it around, and we're going to have a big mess. So there's that space between the side of the whip and the side of the bowl, and that's the target that we're going to actually be slowly drizzling that hot sugar in there. So turn this up just a little bit, just so I don't have to sit here and hold a thermometer. I've got a nice little pot clip on here, and I've got my digital instant read into the middle of the sugar, so it makes it a little bit easier. Again, with cooking sugar, this is really, we're making a syrup here. I'm going to make sure that I'm not trying to stir this or agitate it because that's just going to throw crystals off. Other thing you can do, very, very common to do, don't have any lemon here in the kitchen today, but just a couple of drops of lemon juice in here will help prevent crystallization. Very common technique, a few drops of lemon juice or just a little bit of cream and tartar. So that's going to come up, that's about 225, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start my egg whites over here because I'm right here, I can see my temperature, I can see my egg whites, and I can really balance between them. Like most things, we're going to go up to medium, maybe medium plus speed here. We're not going to crank this all the way up to full speed. All right, so what I've done is I turned my whisk, my speed on the mixer way down because I'm watching my temperature here. I'm about 230, so I've turned my temperature on the sugar up a little bit. I don't want this to go any further, so I'm actually going to go ahead and shut it down now because I'm definitely at a medium peak here. You can hear my sugar cooking away. You know, again, it's one of those things you really got to watch the timing. So don't just because your egg whites are to a medium peak, go ahead and dump your sugar in no matter the temperature. And conversely, you know, I'm not going to dump my sugar in at 245 degrees regardless of what's going on with my egg whites. So we're just going to let it sit there and hang out for a second. And that's not a problem. There's no worry about letting that sit for a second. about 237. Like a lot of things in the mixer, I made a pretty big batch of meringue here because when you work with very small quantities, it's very hard to make sure that the whisk is bringing up all the material off the bottom, that I've got an adequate amount of sugar here, so if I do get a little on the side or a little on the whisk, that I have enough left in my formula that it's still going to come out okay. Over 240. Remember, we're going to have carryover cooking, so I don't want to take this all the way to 250, right at the top end of my temperature range, and then bring it over to the mixer, because then by the time I get the last set of sugar out of this pan, it's actually going to have risen above 250. And from another video that we talked about with cooking sugar, the different temperatures I bring it up to, soft ball, firm ball, soft crack, hard crack, the properties of the sugar change. So I'm actually at 245, so that's where I'm going to shut it off. Got a very hot thermometer there, so I want to watch myself. So very carefully, anytime you're moving hot sugar, be very careful. If you're in a pastry kitchen with a lot of people around you, look before you turn, because this can really, really burn you very badly. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my mixer on. I'm going to shut this off for just a second to talk to you. We're going to let this actually turn it up to high, and we're going to let this go to cool it down to below 90 degrees, and that's where it's actually cooled at the touch, because your hand, of course, is 98. So when it's cooled to your hand on the bottom, that's when we can shut it off. All right, we are all done with our Italian meringue. It's going to go anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. Again, you're going to let it run at high speed or one notch down from high speed until the bottom of the work bowl is cooler than your hand, because you want it to get down to about 90 degrees as the target temperature. Now, what we definitely saw here when we first started, we had our egg whites. It was very foamy. They went to a medium peak. Didn't look very appetizing. But as soon as I started pouring in my sugar, a dramatic change occurred. I ended up getting, a nice gloss, very, very high gloss on my meringue. It's pretty dense, actually. You could definitely see this on top of a, lemon meringue pie. Very, very glossy. It's very stable. That's something you really want to be on the lookout for. That's why we use an Italian meringue instead of just whipping up some egg whites and putting it on a lemon pie and putting it out on a buffet. You want something that's got hold time, that's stable. That cooked sugar is what gives the Italian meringue its stability compared to a French or a common meringue. So again, we've got nice here, very dense. This has got a lot of shelf life. You can actually make a batch of this ahead of time and use it for a day or two. Pull it out of the walk-in. Put meringue on your pies or whatever you need to do. So that's half of our episode today. So this is Italian meringue. We're going to clean up here, and we're actually going to flip this on end, and we're going to do a Pate Bombe, which is almost the same technique, but using our egg yolks. Not the same exact proportions. You can look at the recipes on the end of the video, but egg yolks, egg whites, different application. Italian meringue pies, lemon meringue pies, base for Italian buttercream, and the Pate Bombe is going to be our base for a nice rich mousse. Be right back.